All the light blue stuff on this car, we're going to change. I don't know if it's going to be the right decision or not. I've committed. Sometimes when you put the wrap on the cars, it's really hard to tell what it's going to look like.
253 miles per hour. It is more than just a number printed on a specification sheet. It is a speed that changed the history of cars forever. When the Bugatti Veyron first reached that incredible mark, people around the world struggled to believe it was real. At the time, it seemed almost impossible that a road-legal car could travel faster than many small airplanes during takeoff. The Veyron became a symbol of engineering excellence, unlimited ambition, and a belief that no challenge was too difficult if enough talent and determination were involved. Even today, many years after it first shocked the automotive world, the car still carries an almost mythical reputation. People admire its powerful W16 engine, its 4 turbochargers, its complex cooling system, and the incredible amount of technology hidden beneath its beautiful body. But owning one of these machines is a completely different story. While many people dream about driving a Bugatti, very few ever experience what it truly takes to keep one running. The cost of repairs alone is enough to frighten even wealthy owners. A simple service can cost more than an entire family car, and replacing certain parts can easily reach tens of thousands of pounds. For years, this created the idea that only Bugatti itself could properly repair or maintain one of these legendary machines. Independent mechanics rarely even considered touching a Veyron, because the risks were simply too high. One small mistake could destroy parts worth more than an average house. That belief remained strong until one man decided to challenge everything people thought they knew. His name was Armstrong. Unlike the giant manufacturers with endless budgets and factory-trained engineers, Matt built his reputation by taking damaged supercars that many believed were beyond saving and bringing them back to life with patience, skill, and creative problem-solving. His projects were never about showing off expensive tools or unlimited money. Instead, they were about proving that knowledge, determination, and careful work could sometimes achieve what others believed was impossible. When he bought a badly damaged Bugatti Veyron, many people laughed at the idea. Some said he would never finish it. Others believed the repair bills alone would force him to give up. Even experienced mechanics questioned whether rebuilding one of the world's most complicated cars outside the Bugatti factory was realistic. Yet episode after episode, Matt continued proving the doubters wrong. He repaired faults that manufacturers claimed required huge amounts of money. He discovered that some expensive problems had surprisingly simple solutions. A tiny fuse costing only a few pounds solved an issue that looked far more serious. A major service that Bugatti priced at around £20,000 was completed for only a small fraction of that amount through careful planning and smart sourcing of parts. Every success challenged another long-held belief about owning one of these incredible machines. But despite all those victories, everyone knew there was one final challenge that would decide whether the rebuild could truly be called success. Fixing a Bugatti inside a garage is one thing. Driving it gently on public roads is another. Yet asking a rebuilt Veyron to reach the same legendary speed that made it famous is something completely different. That goal stood above every repair, every late night in the workshop, and every obstacle the team had already overcome. Everything had been leading toward one unforgettable moment. If the car could reach its full potential once again, it would prove that the impossible rebuild had become one of the greatest automotive stories ever told. But if something failed at the last moment, all those months of hard work would face their toughest test yet. Nobody knew which ending was waiting. The only certainty was that this final chapter would be far more dramatic than anyone expected, because sometimes the biggest challenge is not rebuilding a legend. It is convincing that legend to trust you one last time. Before anyone could even think about pointing the Bugatti toward a long runway and chasing its legendary top speed, there was still an important list of unfinished work waiting inside the workshop. The mechanical parts were becoming more reliable with every repair, but the outside of the car still reminded everyone of its difficult past. In the previous stage of the rebuild, the white wrap covering the body had finally been removed, revealing the original paint underneath. At first, everyone hoped the paint would be in excellent condition. But the truth was more complicated. Some panels looked almost perfect, while others showed years of stone chips, scratches, and signs of previous damage. The rear bumper was one of the biggest disappointments. Once the wrap came off, it became clear that the surface underneath was far from the standard expected on a car carrying the Bugatti name. Instead of ignoring the problem or choosing the cheaper option, Matt decided the bumper deserved a complete repaint. It was another example of his approach throughout the project. He was not simply trying to make the Veyron look acceptable from a distance. He wanted every improvement to move the car closer to the level of quality it deserved. After the bumper returned from the body shop with fresh paint, another decision quickly became the center of attention. Rather than copying the original factory appearance exactly, Matt chose to give the Veyron a style that reflected his own vision. The light blue sections that had always been part of the car's identity would now be replaced with a satin metallic silver finish. Some fans immediately loved the modern appearance, believing it gave the Veyron a cleaner and more aggressive personality. Others argued that changing such an iconic color combination was almost disrespectful to one of the world's greatest hypercars. As pictures began appearing online, the comment sections filled with thousands of opinions. Some praised the creativity, while others insisted the original design should never have been changed. Matt knew this reaction was coming, but he also understood something important. This project had never been about creating a museum piece that will remain untouched forever. It was about bringing a damaged machine back to life and making it something special again. Slowly, panel after panel received a new wrap. Each completed section transformed the car a little more. The silver finish worked beautifully alongside the chrome details, while the darker blue interior suddenly felt perfectly matched with the updated exterior. The Veyron no longer looked like a collection of repaired parts from different stages of his life. Instead, it started looking like one complete car with its own unique identity. The transformation was impressive because it respected the original shape while adding a fresh personality that still felt worthy of the Bugatti badge. Every completed panel also brought a sense of progress to the entire team. After spending so many months solving hidden mechanical problems that most viewers could never see, finally there was visible proof that all their hard work was paying off. Every time another section of the wrap was carefully applied, excitement inside the workshop continued growing. The dream of seeing this rebuilt Bugatti sitting proudly on a runway was becoming more realistic with every passing day. Yet everyone involved understood that beautiful paint and fresh styling would mean absolutely nothing if the engineering underneath failed when it mattered most. The appearance was important because it completed the story visually, but the true challenge was still waiting beneath the bodywork. The world's fastest production car would soon have to prove that it could still perform like one, and no amount of fresh paint or perfect wrapping could help if the mechanical systems refused to cooperate when the moment of truth finally arrived. With the body looking better than it had in years, attention quickly returned to the parts that truly mattered. A Bugatti Veyron is not remembered because of its paint color or shiny wheels. It became a legend because of the incredible engineering hidden underneath its beautiful body. Every small component plays an important role, and if even one of them fails, the entire driving experience can change in seconds. That reality became clear once again when Matt and his team focused on the front splitter. At first glance, it might seem like nothing more than a piece of carbon fiber attached to the front bumper. Many people would never give it a second look. But on a car capable of traveling well over 250 miles per hour, every aerodynamic part has a purpose. The splitter helps control the airflow beneath the car, creating stability that allows the Veyron to stay planted at speeds where most vehicles will begin to feel nervous or unstable. Unfortunately, this particular splitter had suffered serious damage long before Matt bought the car. A previous owner had clearly pushed the car beyond its limits, leaving deep marks and broken sections that could not simply be hidden with paint. Instead of searching for an expensive replacement that Bugatti might not even agree to sell, the damaged splitter was sent to a specialist company known for restoring carbon fiber parts. When it finally returned, the result amazed everyone. Fresh layers of carbon fiber had been carefully shaped over the damaged areas before being placed under vacuum pressure and cured inside a special oven. After hours of sanding, polishing, and applying clear lacquer, the finished part looked almost impossible to distinguish from a brand new factory component. It was another reminder that skilled craftsmanship could often achieve results that many people believed only the manufacturer could deliver. But the surprises did not stop there. Installing the restored splitter revealed another unexpected problem. The original mounting hardware had been damaged beyond repair during the car's earlier accident, and Bugatti refused to sell replacement fasteners individually. For many owners, this would have created another expensive delay. Without the correct hardware, even a perfectly restored splitter could not be safely installed. Once again, the team refused to accept defeat. Bob stepped forward and decided to manufacture the missing pieces himself. Using stainless steel, careful measurements, and plenty of patience, he created custom hardware designed to perform the same job as the original parts. It was not simply about saving money. It was about proving that practical engineering could solve problems that seemed impossible at first. Watching those handmade parts fit perfectly into place gave the entire workshop another boost of confidence. Every challenge they solved made the next one seem slightly less intimidating. Still, everyone knew the most interesting discovery had not happened yet. Hidden inside the Veyron was one small object that carried an almost legendary reputation among Bugatti owners. It was a famous speed key, the special key required to unlock the car's full performance mode. For years, many people believed it was one of the most exclusive pieces of equipment ever fitted to a production car. Stories about its cost spread across the automotive world, with rumors claiming that replacing one could cost more than many family cars. Because of that reputation, the speed key had become almost as famous as the Veyron itself. It represented exclusivity, engineering, and mystery all at the same time. Naturally, everyone expected that replacing or duplicating such an important component would require complex electronics, factory programming, and expensive security systems. After all, this was Bugatti. Nothing about the car was supposed to be simple. But what Matt was about to discover would challenge another long-standing belief and leave many enthusiasts wondering how such an expensive symbol of exclusivity could actually be far less complicated than anyone had ever imagined. The Bugatti Speed Key has always been surrounded by mystery. It is not the same key that starts the engine or unlocks the doors. Instead, it has one very special purpose. When the car is parked, the driver inserts the second key into a slot beside the driver's seat. If every important system is working correctly, the Veyron prepares itself for maximum performance. The suspension lowers close to the ground, the rear wing changes its position, and the car enters a special mode designed for the incredible speeds that made it famous around the world. For years, this simple object has been treated almost like a priceless treasure. Many owners believe that losing it would create a huge financial disaster because stories about replacement prices often reach well into 5 figures. Since Bugatti has always protected its technology carefully, most people assume the speed key contained advanced electronics, encrypted security systems, and special programming that only the factory could understand. It sounded reasonable because almost every part of Veyron is surrounded by complex engineering. Naturally, everyone expected the speed key to be no different. Matt, however, had built his reputation by refusing to accept assumptions without checking the facts first. Instead of believing the rumors, he decided to investigate. He took the original speed key to a professional locksmith and asked a simple question. Could this key actually be copied? The locksmith carefully examined the metal blade, scanned its shape, and cut an identical copy onto a blank key. Up to this point, nothing seemed unusual. The real surprise came when they looked inside the slot where the key is inserted. They expected to find an electronic reader, a transponder coil, or some kind of security system waiting to verify a coded chip inside the key. But after a careful inspection, none of those things were there. There was no electronic communication. There was no hidden computer checking the key's identity. There was no encrypted chip sending security codes back and forth. The speed key simply completed a physical switch inside the car. That discovery shocked not only Matt's team, but also thousands of viewers watching the rebuild. Something that had been surrounded by years of mystery turned out to be surprisingly simple. Even more unbelievable was the discovery that another key from a completely different Volkswagen Group vehicle could physically fit into the same slot. Suddenly, one of the most exclusive pieces of Bugatti equipment no longer seemed like an impossible engineering masterpiece. It was simply a carefully shaped piece of metal performing a straightforward mechanical job. Of course, that did not mean the Veyron itself was simple. The systems activated by the key remained incredibly advanced, But the key's own design was far less complicated than almost everyone had imagined. This moment perfectly represented the entire rebuild. Time after time, Matt had uncovered situations where reputation and reality were very different. Expensive myths were replaced by practical investigation, and impossible-looking problems often had surprisingly ordinary solutions. For many viewers, this became one of the most satisfying parts of the journey because it challenged the belief that every Bugatti repair automatically required unlimited money. Knowledge, patience, and a willingness to investigate carefully could sometimes achieve the same result for a fraction of the expected cost. Yet while the speed key mystery had finally been solved, the Veyron was not ready to reward the team's hard work just yet. Hypercars have a habit of creating new problems the moment old ones disappear, and before long another unexpected fault will remind everyone that rebuilding one of the world's most complicated cars is never a straight path from problem to success. Every victory simply opened the door to the next challenge, and this project was about to prove that lesson once again in dramatic fashion. With the speed key mystery finally solved, confidence inside the workshop reached its highest point in months. It felt as though every major obstacle had been cleared, and the dream of seeing the Bugatti Veyron return to its legendary performance was becoming more realistic with every passing day. But anyone who has worked on an older high-performance machine knows that confidence can disappear in a single moment. These cars are built with thousands of parts working together, and when one small component fails, it can create a chain reaction that affects everything else. Matt had already experienced this many times during the rebuild. So instead of celebrating too early, he continued testing every system as carefully as possible. That decision proved to be the right one almost immediately. During one of the first road tests after completing several repairs, a simple warning light appeared on the dashboard. The indicators had suddenly stopped working. For many modern cars, finding a blown fuse is a quick and easy job because the owner's manual clearly explains which fuse controls each system. The Bugatti, however, refused to make life that simple. There was no complete fuse diagram available that showed the location of every fuse. Instead of replacing random fuses and hoping for the best, Matt approached the problem with patience. One by one, every fuse across 3 separate fuse boxes was tested using a multimeter. It was slow, repetitive work that required concentration, but eventually the faulty 5-amp fuse was discovered. The repair itself cost almost nothing, yet finding the problem took far longer than replacing it. Once again, the Veyron reminded everyone that time is often more valuable than expensive parts. The team could finally move forward, believing another issue had been eliminated. Then, almost without warning, the engine developed another problem. Cylinder 16, which had caused trouble earlier in the project, began misfiring again. Hearing an engine with 16 cylinders fail to run smoothly is enough to make any mechanic nervous, because the list of possible causes is enormous. Expensive electronic failures, damaged ignition components, fuel delivery problems, or internal engine damage could all produce similar symptoms. For a few moments, it seemed possible that another major repair bill was about to appear. Instead of jumping conclusions, Matt carefully checked the ignition system once again. After a close inspection, he noticed that the coil pack for cylinder 16 had not been pushed completely into position during an earlier service. It was sitting only a tiny distance above the spark plug, making poor contact whenever the engine warmed up and expanded. Such a small mistake had created a fault that looked much more serious than it really was. With a little silicone spray to help the seal slide into place, the coil pack was pressed fully home. The engine was started again, and this time the misfire disappeared completely. No expensive replacement parts were needed. No complicated programming was required. The solution came from careful observation rather than costly equipment. These moments perfectly explain why so many people have become fascinated by this rebuild. Instead of throwing money at every warning light, Matt continued proving that understanding the problem was far more important than simply replacing parts. Every successful diagnosis strengthened the team's confidence and also encouraged viewers who believe that good mechanical knowledge could often defeat unnecessary expenses. Little by little, the Bugatti was becoming healthier, more reliable, and closer to the moment everyone had been waiting for. The finish line finally seemed within reach. But hidden deep inside the car, another far more serious mechanical problem was quietly preparing to test everything the team had accomplished so far, and unlike a simple fuse or a loose coil pack, this next challenge would threaten the entire top-speed mission itself. After solving the electrical faults and finally getting the powerful W16 engine running exactly as it should, there was a feeling that the Bugatti Veyron was entering the final stage of its incredible comeback. The dashboard looked cleaner than it had in months. The engine pulled smoothly, and every successful test drive increased the team's confidence. One by one, the warning lights that had once filled the instrument cluster disappeared. Fresh tires had been fitted to prepare for the enormous forces the car would experience at extreme speed, and the restored body panels now matched the mechanical improvements hidden underneath. For the first time since the rebuild had started, it genuinely felt like the Veyron was becoming a complete car again instead of a collection of unfinished repairs. It was a kind of progress every mechanic dreams about after spending countless hours solving one difficult problem after another. But anyone familiar with machines built at the very edge of engineering knows that success can be temporary. Sometimes a system works perfectly during one test and then fails completely during the next. That is exactly what happened. Without much warning, the gearbox suddenly began acting strangely. Gear changes that had previously been smooth became hesitant, and the transmission started behaving in ways that immediately caught Matt's attention. On a normal car, this might simply be an inconvenience. On a Bugatti capable of over 250 miles per hour, any gearbox problem is a serious concern. The Veyron uses an incredibly advanced transmission controlled by a hydraulic system that depends on stable pressure to operate correctly. If that pressure drops too low, the gearbox can no longer select gears reliably, no matter how healthy the engine may be. After careful investigation, the team traced the fault to one of the hydraulic accumulators responsible for storing pressure inside the system. Instead of holding pressure as designed, the worn accumulator was allowing it to escape far too quickly. As the stored pressure disappeared, the hydraulic pump was forced to run almost continuously, try to replace what had been lost. The longer it worked without a break,